Welcome to the Shreveport Connection with Tommy. This video is on your Monday Night Raw and Superstars report for October. Former WWE superstar CM Punk turned 36 years old on October 26th, while former WCW star Kevin Sullivan turned 65, Kurgan turned 45, Nicole Bass turned 50. Former WWE diva Rochelle Lowen turned 35, and former WWE light heavyweight champion Taka Michinoku turned 41, Perry Saturn turned 48, and Rosa Mendez turned 35. WWE recently applied trademark to the name The New Day for what they said is a wrestling program title. It's possible that this is for a WWE Studios movie. John Cena has been pulled from local advertising at the WWE.com listing for Monday's Raw in Buffalo, New York. The advertisement main event is Seth Rollins versus Dean Ambrose in a street fight. The advertised dark match main event was John Cena and Dean Ambrose versus Randy Orton and Seth Rollins. As noted before, Mexican wrestling legend Hijo del Santo and his son Santo Jr. were backstage at Thursday's WWE NXT taping in Florida. Speculation in Mexico is that Santo was trying to get his son to try out with WWE. Tiny Lister, who formerly has appeared in WWE or WWF as Zeus in the No Holds Barred movie, squares against Hulk Hogan in the movie, called out John Cena just recently for being a fake rapper. As Zeus said on another wrestling podcast with Steve Credo. Quote, John Cena, I'm calling you out to all your fans. You want to come do reality shows? Take that makeup off, John. It don't look good on you. Be a real cat. Real cats don't wear makeup. John, get off that reality show. I'll meet your ass in the ring, in your house, and I'm calling you out. Because I see the WWE, they got too damn soft. Two of the wrestlers featured in the WWE Performance Center tryouts video from Raw were Northern California indie wrestlers Sione Finau and Jeff Cobb. Rolling Stone has a nice profile on Dean Ambrose. Ambrose commented on his babyface run in the article. It's still a bit strange. I never pictured myself being liked by anybody. I've always fed off negativity and wanting people to hate me. That attitude really fueled me for my entire career. So being a guy that people like and want to cheer for is a weird part. Who knows how long that will last. All the people who love me right now are probably going to hate me next month. He also commented on top stars like Roman Reigns and Daniel Bryan returning. I'll be fine. There's no, oh my God, somebody else is going to come back and take my spot. I want to have a spot. That's my spot. Nobody's going to take it away because nobody else is me. Former women's champion Mickie James recently expressed interest in returning to WWE as Mickie continues to retweet many comments from fans about a possible WWE return. She also retweeted a comment that's about still being able to record her music when she returns to WWE, as Mickie is wanting to branch out and do music outside of WWE, as was reported an issue when she left back in 2010, which she was doing while she was in TNA. Mickie, who gave birth back in September, will be returning to the ring at a Queens of Combat event in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, from Ziggy's on November 30th at 1 p.m. She will be facing Tessa Blanchard, the son of Tully Blanchard, for Horsemen. WWE held tryouts, like I was explaining earlier, from the Performance Center last week, where they were looking for Spanish-speaking talent. I noted that a top indie star, Uha Nation, worked the tryout. Uha reportedly turned a lot of heads, and some of the NXT stars expect him to be signed. Another name that worked tryouts were Puerto Rican talent Sebastian Guerra. Guerra worked the same tryout last year that featured Joey Ryan, Eddie Edwards, and Davey Richards at that time. WWE wanted Guerra to get more experience in the ring, and then learn better English, which he has been doing. The rest of the tryouts were made up of bodybuilders and athletes from outside of pro wrestling. Some of the WWE NXT talents attended last week's Ring of Honor TV tapings in Lakeland, Florida. WWE has already taped segments between the Bella Twins for the assistant storyline that's been going on. One of the focal points of Raw was from San Antonio, with Seth Rollins bragging about how he won his Hell in a Cell match while pushing how Randy Orton lost his. And this is to further their feud between the two of Orton and Rollins. And WWE's Los Matadors and El Torito worked last weekend's WWC Anniversario shows in Puerto Rico. Thus, they don't have a no-compete rule in other countries. They defeated WWC Tag Team Champions in a non-title match on Friday and then lost the title match the next night, after they fought off a beatdown from Hurricane Castillo and Miguel Perez on Saturday night. And then Fernando took the mic and said if Perez and Castillo wanted to fight, they would fight them, but not as Los Matadors. Fernando and Diego then removed their mask and said, Primo and Epico will fight any place, anytime. Previously noted, that the November issue of Muscle and Fitness magazine has a story on WWE Performance Center in Orlando. WWE's website posted the following on a preview. 32-year-old editor Sean Heisen journeyed to the WWE Performance Center for a 3-day tryout with NXT coaches and hopeful future superstars. And he documented the arduous process for the latest issue of Muscle and Fitness, available now. The article offers a special look into WWE's state-of-the-art Performance Center and what coaches like Bill DeMott, William Regal, and Dusty Rhodes look for in potential superstars. WWE announced that Randy Orton will star in The Condemned 2. Yeah, the same sequel that the first one was Stone Cold, and it's been co-produced by WWE Studios and Lionsgate. Roel Reen will serve as the director. Principal photography will begin in New Mexico later this year. You can read the official announcement at WWE.com. Orton and Reen worked together on 12 rounds, 2 Reloaded. There's no word yet as to how much TV time Orton will miss while filming. Probably, since he's already missing SmackDown, he's probably already doing some day-to-day filming on it. As WWE Performance Center tryouts were held last week again, specifically looking at Spanish talent. They are also starting to sell CM Punk merchandise on their shop website. It appears that WWE and Punk have reached some sort of deal, but not yet. He hadn't returned yet. Punk is also in the WWE 2K15 game that came out last Tuesday morning, midnight, Monday night, and the WWE Flintstones movie that comes out next year. Regarding Bray Wyatt's return at Hell in a Cell, WWE put him under the ring during the pre-match video that aired for Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose match. Steve Austin is now selling his official t-shirts and Broken Skull Ranch merchandise through ProWrestlingTees.com. WWE and Kmart is running a WWE Fan Family of the Year sweepstakes, with the winner receiving a private meet and greet with a WWE superstar. I'll post a link there. And lots more full details on the contest. Again, with the link. ShopYourWay.com. Okay. Skylar Steven attended Raw from San Antonio, Texas on Monday and said the following. Spoilers for Superstars. Summer Rae defeated Emma with a roll-up. Tyson Kidd defeated Sin Cara in the pre-show broadcast on the WWE Network. Fans were shown entering the arena from San Antonio, Texas, and Byron Saxon, Booker T, and Alex Riley checking in as hosts. They announced Hulk Hogan would appear on Raw, as well as Gold and Stardust versus Big Show and Mark Henry, and John Cena versus Seth Rollins. John Cena's win from Hell in a Cell was recapped, and the panel wondered what this meant for Randy Orton and the Authority. They also talked Cena versus Lesnar 3. Bray Wyatt's interference in the main event was also recapped. Backstage video showed Mark Henry telling Big Show not to take it too hard. He said the WWE Universe understands. Show said that the WWE Universe knows he's a failure. He started to blame Henry a little, and Henry told him that they had a match for the tag titles. Big Show cheered up then, and then as they both walked off, the panel then put over Rusev and ran through the rest of the Hell in a Cell results, except for the Bellas, of course. I guess they get their own segment. No segment for the Bellas. And bold predictions closed the show. Raw opened up with a highlight video package for Hell in a Cell, live from the AT&T Center in San Antonio, Texas, with Michael Coleslaw, JBL, and Jerry the King Lawler on commentary. We'll go right to the ring, and Triple H, Stephanie McMahon, and Kane are waiting as Lillian Garcia introduces them. Stephanie welcomes us. She says that those who missed Hell in a Cell missed a hell of a show, but those who watched it on the WWE Network got more than their $9.99 worth. Triple H says it was a bittersweet night with the Cell matches, but puts over Seth Rollins. Triple H calls Rollins out to the ring, and here he comes with Joey Mercury and Jamie Noble, the Stooges. At least two of the three Stooges. Well, I guess Seth Rollins makes the third one. Rollins lifts to the ring, but he has smiles on his face as the Authority claps for him. Stephanie wants a louder pop for Rollins, but the fans boo. You sold out chant started as usual, and Rollins thanks the fans and says, "Finally!" But not the Rock way. The lunatic fringe, Dean Ambrose, is out of his hair. Rollins says Ambrose is no longer a thorn in his side. Rollins says he proved intellect conquers every single time. Rollins takes credit for the Ambrose for taking Ambrose out. Rollins says he's moving on to John Cena. Now we get dueling chants for Cena. Now, of course, let's go Cena. Cena sucks. Rollins mocks fans and says later tonight he's going to be able to see John Cena and leave him in a puddle of his own failure. Rollins' music hits and the Authority celebrates, but Randy Orton's music hits and setting out, he comes pissed off. Orton is sorry to break up their little love fest, but he's not happy with Rollins, saying he's the self-proclaimed future of WWE. Orton says maybe he lost last night because Rollins hit the curb stomp last week. Orton is going crazy and says he feels like checking himself back into anger management, but he's here because he made a promise. If the Authority didn't deal with Rollins, then he is. Orton then drops the mic and attacks Rollins. They're pulled apart, but they go back and forth at it. Triple H gets in between and says they're not doing this here tonight. Orton says he will calm down when Rollins is dead. Triple H tells Orton to take the night off, get on his bus, and have a drink. Triple H says that they will deal with this when it's the right time, but emotions are high from Hell in a Cell. Orton lays Rollins out with an RKO out of nowhere while Triple H is talking. Orton lays the ring and then heads to the back. Triple H is pissed. Orton's music hits as Triple H orders the Stooges to get Rollins on his feet. Rollins is dazed and confused as Rollins stumbles out of the ring, selling the RKO and apparently wanting to go after Orton as we go to replays of it. So to come segment, Rollins versus Cena. Also, Hulk Hogan will be here live, and Goldust and Stardust defend against Big Show and Mark Henry as we go to commercial. Tag team title match. Mark Henry and Big Show versus Goldust and Stardust. Well, my prediction was right. Well, Henry was going to turn heel again, and in this match he does. Back from the break, WWE Tag Team Champions Stardust Goldust made their entrance and then followed up by Big Show and Mark Henry out next. Goldust starts the match off with Mark Henry. Fans chant USA. Goldust taunts Henry and blows at him. Henry misses, and Goldust beats him with right hands. Henry runs over Goldust with a big splash. Henry tosses Goldust across the ring, and then comes Stardust. Stardust gets caught, and then Henry unloads in the corner. Big Show tags into a pop. Show takes Stardust to the other corner and works him over with big chops. Henry comes back in and drops Stardust with a right hand. Henry rams Stardust into the corner. Fans chant for sexual chocolate, and Henry grinds a bit in the corner. Henry keeps up the attack of Stardust until Show tags himself in blind tag. It's like taps him on the shoulder, and Henry's pissed. Show tosses Stardust. Henry tags Show the same way, and they argue about tag hurting. And we go to commercial. Back from the break, Goldust is in control of Big Show. Show counters and drops Goldust on his face. Show gets a submission in until Stardust breaks it up. Henry comes in and runs over Stardust, who also tags in. Henry with a headbutt. Henry goes for a slam, but Stardust slides out and takes the knee out. Goldust comes back in and works over Henry. Show cheers on Henry. Stardust stomps away on the knee now. Henry finally counters, but doesn't go for a tag. Henry runs into a boot. Stardust nails a missile drop kick, sending Henry to the corner. Show takes himself in and takes Goldust out. Then loads the Stardust and hits a big spear. Show calls for a knockout punch and nails it on Stardust, but Goldust runs in, but Show tosses him to the floor. Henry comes in and has words with Big Show. Apparently he wanted to take Goldust out. Henry nailed the World Strongest Slam on Big Show out of nowhere, and then rolls Stardust on top of him for the pinfall. After the match, Henry yelled at the champions from the ring. As they made their entrance, Show got up and Henry waited. Henry hits another World Strongest Slam on Big Show, and then the fans boo. That's how I do. You know, the big heel thing. That's what I do. That's how I do. Henry yells that nobody chumps him or hits him. Show gets in his face again, and Henry hits a third World Strongest Slam. Henry runs and drops a big splash on Show. And then Henry talks some more trash, and fans boo as his music hits. Another still to come segment, Cena versus Rollins. We will also get an exclusive interview from Roman Reigns. Back to commercial. Always by satellite or something backstage, as they played it up by satellite. Back from the break, and Renee Young caught up with Mark Henry. He says Big Show is jealous of him. Always has and always will be. What's he trying to do? Be Bret Hart? We get a video package on Roman Reigns. We get Reigns live from satellite. He says he's getting better every day, but there's nothing cool about being on the sidelines, and he'll do anything to be in San Antonio. JBL then asked about Rollins versus Ambrose at Hell in a Cell. Reigns says Ambrose is his boy, and he knew he would bring it. Reigns says Rollins is a weasel and proved that last night from the pay-per-view. Reigns says Rollins is trying to prove that he's the future of WWE, but when Reigns is medically cleared, he's going to make Rollins the past. Believe that. Into that segment. And the Divas title match, Alicia Fox versus AJ Lee. We go to the ring. Out comes Divas champion AJ Lee. Back to commercial. Back for the break. Alicia Fox is making her entrance. And of course, Paige is on commentary, supposedly her best buddy. Paige still calls Alicia her bestie. Alicia strikes first and beats AJ around to start the match. Alicia sends AJ out to the floor. Alicia follows and throws AJ back in for a 1 count. Alicia gets more offense in the corner now. And then Alicia with a Northern Light suplex for a 2 count. And that's about it. As Alicia kept AJ grounded. And Alicia goes on and gets a 2 count. Alicia screams and goes back to a headlock. AJ turns it around and drops Alicia. AJ makes a comeback, but Alicia catches her in a backbreaker. Paige kicked Alicia in the back and screamed at her to win. AJ took advantage of that and got the pin on Alicia. After the match, Paige came in the ring to apologize to Alicia. Paige offered Alicia something, but kicked her in the gut. And when she got close, Paige sent Alicia to the floor and then threw her to the barrier. Paige catapulted Alicia into the barrier and then slammed her head into it several times. Paige said Alicia is a bad best friend and throws her jacket at her. Lawler then gets up to protest Alicia, protect Alicia. Fans cheer for Lawler as Paige music hits, and she talks them both. Colesall talks about the Reigns interview we just saw before the Divas match, and Colesall then showed us stills of how Bray Wyatt returned at Hell in a Cell. Cesaro versus Dean Ambrose will take place tonight Up next, new number one contender John Cena will speak. That's a commercial. Back from the break, and out comes the new number one contender John Cena to a big mixed reaction. Cena gets popped for mentioning San Antonio Spurs raising their championship banner tomorrow. To start off the NBA season, Cena says last night may not have been the last chapter in Orton versus Cena, but it was one of the best. He says it was an epic night. Cena says he has earned the right to face Brock Lesnar for the WWE World Heavyweight title. Cena says while Lesnar sits at home and thinks he's a champion, he's here every night fighting like a champion. When Lesnar decides to come back to WWE, he will realize that he's going to lose their next encounter. Cena says everything he does from now on will be a statement to Lesnar, just like last night. Cena says that the self-proclaimed future of WWE will get a first-class wake-up call tonight. Cena says he likes to say the future goes through him tonight. He goes through the future. Stephanie McMahon's music hits, and out she comes. Well, she congratulated Cena on his win from the pay-per-view. She said Survivor Series will see a traditional elimination chamber match. Elimination match. Didn't say elimination chamber, it just says elimination match. Stephanie has a business proposition for Cena and talks about how he interacted with the fans. She says that the people don't matter and what they care about is seeing Cena lose. Tear himself apart and leave it all on the line. They care about blood, guts, and seeing people tear each other apart. Stephanie says Cena does all this every night, but for why? Fan appreciation. She says Cena can join the Authority. She tries to sell him on the idea of a no, and then a no chant broke out. The Borgasm knows, no. She said maybe the Authority could guarantee Cena a win over Lesnar. She says maybe the winner of tonight's main event can be the winner of the Team Authority at Survivor Series. Cena then cut a promo and said, hell no, he will never sell out. Triple H's music interrupts and out he comes. Triple H says, told you so to Stephanie. He tells Cena he's been here twice in the amount of time that it took. It gets harder every year. Triple H says Cena is just getting better every night, but it doesn't have to be this hard or as hard as it is going to get. He says the business is about longevity and doing the right thing over time, or you can beat the hell out, beat up old shell of yourself that comes down to the ring one last hurrah or hooray. Triple H goes on and says maybe this conversation isn't what Cena needs. Maybe Triple H has to prove to Cena that you can't stop the future. He says the Authority will make an example of Cena. At Survivor Series, he tells Cena to find someone to stand with him against Team Authority. He announces Team Cena versus Team Authority and talks more at Cena. So comes segment, Cena versus Rollins, back to commercial. The Usos versus Damian Sandow and The Miz. Back from the break, both teams are already in the ring. The Miz starts off with Jey Uso. Fans shout for Sandow to be tagged in. Uso misses a super kick but drops Miz for a 2 count. Jimmy tags in for some double teaming. In the corner, Miz drops Uso with a big knee to the gut. Miz got a pop for teasing the tag to Sandow, but he stomps away on Uso instead. Sandow stomps on Uso as Miz distracted the referee. Uso came back with a big right hand on The Miz and clothesline to the floor. Sandow lays beside Miz and the Usos both run the ropes and leaps out as we go to commercial. Back from the commercial, Miz rams Uso into the apron on the floor. Miz rolls him back in and hits a boot to the face for a 2 count. Miz then gets a headlock. More offense and another pin attempt. Sandow tags in and keeps up the attack. Sandow with a suplex and a 2 count. Sandow kept control and hits a big DDT for another 2 count. Miz and Sandow with a double teaming for a 2 count. Sandow whipped Uso into the corner but wastes time and then ran into a boot. Uso finally made the tag and unloaded on Miz. Uso nailed a Samoan drop. Uso charged in the corner but missed. Uso nailed the crossbody from the top for a 2 count. Miz blocked a super kick, but Uso blocked the skull crushing finale. Uso would roll up for Sando. As Sando broke the pin, Uso pulled Twin Magic, and Miz got the roll up for the win. After the match, Miz and Sando throw a fit as the Usos make their exit. Well, yeah, the Usos pulled the Twin Magic as Miz got rolled up for the win. Then we'll see John Cena backstage talking to Dolph Ziggler. Apparently, he's the first member of his elimination tag match for Survivor Series. Asking him to join Team Cena at Survivor Series. They shake hands, but we couldn't hear what was being said, of course. Still to come segment, Hulk Hogan back to commercial. Kane approaches Dolph Ziggler backstage and says that there's a report going around that he's talking to John Cena. Ziggler acknowledges this. And Kane says he can only take that as an act of aggression against the authority. And then Kane tells Ziggler he will see him in the ring next. We go to the ring and Lillian Garcia introduces Hulk Hogan. Hogan talks about how happy he was to see John Cena beat that no good Randy Orton at Hell in a Cell. Hogan says he can't wait to see his champion take on the stinky beast Brock Lesnar and win the title back. Hogan gets a pop for Susan G. Komen as we see a group of breast cancer survivors at ringside. Hogan thanked WWE for letting him join the fight this month. He says October is winding down, but the fight continues day after day. Hogan says that these women are the real superstars and inspiration. Hogan then asked the women to stand up so the crowd can cheer for them. Hogan talked more and as music hits, Hogan invites the group of women in the ring with him to celebrate and do the Hulkster poses. Bo Dallas backstage headed to the ring for an open challenge match. We go to commercial. Bo Dallas versus Mystery Man. And it's none other than returning Ryback. Back from the ring, out comes Bo Dallas. Bo says he issued an open challenge earlier tonight. And now it's time to find out who Bo believes that they can beat him. The music hit and out comes Ryback to a pop. It looks like he's got back the Feed Me More chant and dominated Bo as Bo tried to make a comeback, but Ryback just kept on cutting him off. And the Ryback nails a meat hook clothesline and the shell shot for the win. Basically about a good minute match, and that was about it. After the match, Ryback got a big pop and started another big Feed Me More chant. And then we see Dean Ambrose backstage. Back to commercial. Cesaro versus Ambrose was up next. Back for the break, Cesaro makes his way out. We see a WWE app segment from earlier with Orton bragging about hitting the RKO on Rollins. Dean Ambrose makes his way out next to a big pop. Ambrose stands on the announce table and cuts a promo. He says he beat Rollins to death, but when he got to hell, he found Bray Wyatt. He doesn't care how Wyatt did what he did and says that you don't screw with Dean Ambrose. Fans chant Ambrose's name as he hits the ring and decks Cesaro with a microphone. Ambrose unloaded on Cesaro with the microphone as the referee tried to stop him. Cesaro rolled to the floor, but Ambrose was all over him with a microphone again. Ambrose unloaded as the referee tried to stop him. Cesaro rolled to the floor, but Ambrose was all over him again. Ambrose unloaded on the ramp and beat Cesaro to the stage. Still hitting him with a microphone, Ambrose got a pop ass and asked, "Where's Wyatt?" Ambrose goes back to the ring and calls Wyatt out. Wyatt appears on the big screen. Every time he looks at Ambrose, he can't help but see his own deranged reflection staring back at him. He says they're both victims of a system that makes men torture. He says that this world is not made for them. Wyatt asks what happens next. He says he's not Ambrose's brother or his friend. Wyatt tells Dean to run. Lights come back on and the announcers are talking. Still to come, Cena versus Rollins in the main event. Cole talks about Team Cena versus Team Authority at Survivor Series. Nikki Bella versus Naomi was up next. And Nikki made her way out, and her sister Brie was there. Nikki whispered something to Brie and then tossed her hat at her. And we go to commercial. Back from the break, Naomi goes at it with Nikki. Nikki with an Alabama slam. and then stops for a 2 count. Nikki kept control and choked Naomi on the ropes. Naomi finally made a comeback and hit a drop kick. Naomi goes on and kicks Nikki in the back before hitting a pair of knees for a 2 count. Nikki rolled to the floor in front of Bree. Naomi threw her right back in. Nikki runs into a kick. Bree barely grabbed Naomi's ankle, but it was enough to distract her. Bree looked embarrassed. This allows Nikki to kick Naomi off the apron. Nikki brought it back, brings it back in, and hits the rack attack for the win. After the match, Bree entered the ring and raised Nikki's arm, but doesn't look happy to do so. Another still to come segment: Cena versus Rollins, and also Kane versus Ziggler. Back to commercial. Kane versus Dolph Ziggler was up next. Back for the break, out comes Kane. WWE Intercontinental Champion Dolph Ziggler was out next for a non-title match. This is Ziggler's punishment for talking to Cena earlier. Ziggler unloaded on Kane, but Kane runs over him with a big shoulder. Apparently this is going to be a squash match. Kane was stopped to the head. Kane dropped Ziggler over the top rope and kicked him in the head. Kane with a boot to the throat. Kane kept control and tossed Ziggler in from the apron. Kane with a headlock. Fans chanted for Ziggler as he fought to his feet. Ziggler tried for a comeback, but Kane hit a big knee for a pin attempt. Ziggler managed a jawbreaker and dumped Kane to the floor. Kane got back on the apron, but Ziggler drop kicked him off. Then we go to commercial. Back from the break, and then Ziggler is making another comeback, but Kane catches him for a power bomb. Ziggler blocked it and dropped Kane on his face. Ziggler unloaded on Kane in the corner. Ziggler leaps and Kane knocks him out of the air. Kane covered for a close 2 count. Kane beat Ziggler into a corner and hit a headbutt. Kane with more kicks. Kane took Ziggler down and nailed a drop kick for a 2 count. Kane kept Ziggler grounded for a moment. Then Kane broke the hold, but beat Ziggler back to the corner. Kane then whipped Ziggler and followed him with a splash. Kane ran into an elbow this time. Ziggler took the leg out and Kane is down in the corner. Ziggler mounted Kane in the corner with a right hand. Ziggler with a neck breaker. Ziggler drops an elbow for a 2 count. Kane countered and hit a side slam for a 2 count. Kane went up top but missed on the way down. Ziggler hit the famouser for a 2 count. Kane caught a kick and goes for a chuck slam, but Ziggler countered and nailed the super kick. Kane with another block and then big boot for a 2 count. Kane went for another choke slam, but is countered with a roll up for the win. Schoolboy roll up for the win. After the match, Kane argued with the referee. Ziggler goes to the floor to celebrate, but then is attacked from behind by Seth Rollins. Mercury and Noble also ran out, and you got the Three Stooges out there. Rollins brought Ziggler back into the ring, and Kane joins in for the double team. John Cena's music hits, and he rushes to the ring. Rollins leaves, but Cena unloads on Kane and sends him out of the ring. Cena then helps Ziggler to his feet, and the Authority retreats. We'll go back to commercial. Then we get Seth Rollins versus John Cena. Back from the break, and John Cena waits in the ring as Seth Rollins made his way out with Noble and Mercury. Again, so what they do? Run back for their own interest. Rollins ends up taking control early on in the match as Mercury got a cheap shot on Cena, and then Rollins kept control and threw him back out to both Mercury and Noble. This time, Rollins goes back at it and hits a suplex on the floor as Rollins brings Cena back in, works him over in the corner. Rollins keeps control, goes for another pin attempt, and then we go to commercial with Rollins putting a knee to Cena on the mat. Back from the break again, and Cena is fighting back on the floor. He tossed Noble into a barrier. Rollins grabs Cena and then throws him shoulder first into the steel steps. Rollins comes back in the ring and the referee counts. Cena makes it back in, and Rollins stomps away. Rollins then mounts Cena with punches. Rollins with a headlock. Cena looks to make a comeback, but gets launched out of the ring. Rollins then runs the ropes and leaps out onto Cena. Rollins hurts his Saint's wrist by hitting the announcer's table. They make it back in at the 8 count, and Rollins covers for a 2 count. Rollins drops Cena with a right hand. Rollins climbed up for a superplex, but Cena knocks him to the mat. Cena hits a crossbody for a 2 count. Rollins blocks an Attitude Adjustment and hits a big DDT for a 2 count. Rollins kept control. and kicks Cena back out of the ring. Rollins throws Cena into the barrier. Rollins wastes some time, but rolls Cena back in and goes back up to top. Rollins came off top, and Cena nails Cena with a knee for a 2 count. Rollins gets more offense on Cena, and Noble gets some cheap shots in as Rollins distracts the referee. Cena finally makes a comeback, hits the 5-knuckle shuffle. Noble gets on the apron to distract Cena. Rollins charges, but Cena dumps him onto the Stooges. Then Cena brings Rollins back in, but gets kicked in the head for a 2 count. More back and forth action as Cena drops Rollins on his head with a tornado DDT out for another pin attempt. Rollins then lands on his feet out of an attitude adjustment. Rollins misses a spinning kick. Rollins blocks the STF and kicks Cena off. Rollins with a kick to the gut and a big shot for a 2 count. They end up in a corner as Rollins counters for a power bomb, but ends up carrying Cena across the ring and doing the power bomb into the turnbuckle. Cena kicks out at 2. Cena blocks the curb stomp and locks in the STF. Rollins calls for help as Kane runs in, and John Cena gets called as the winner as by disqualification. After the bell, Rollins and Kane beat up on Cena until Ziggler made the save. The entire locker room then runs out next, and we got a big brawl. Rollins and Kane retreat while chaos unfolds in the ring. Triple H and Stephanie come to the stage and stand with Kane, Rollins, Mercury, and Noble. We come down to Heath Slater taking attitude adjustment from Cena. Bo Dallas then takes one as well. Cena stands tall and stares at the Authority as his music hits. Raw goes off the air with the Authority and Cena taunting each other. After the taping stopped, John Cena was then confronted by the Authority. Stephanie McMahon approached Cena to get him to join Team Authority again, but Joey Mercury and Jamie Noble tried to attack, leading to Cena taking them out. Cena stood tall to end the show, and Cena and Dean Ambrose versus Seth Rollins and Randy Orton was advertised locally, but no match happened. And that ended the show for them to send the crowd home happy. And that's it for my video for Raw and Superstars as well. Thanks again. Peace out. God bless you. One with you. And if you don't know, just call me, bro.